Some of our dream movies were really nightmares behind the scenes. Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy barely survived weathering a desert together for Mad Max Fury Road.
Now that I don't believe.
And Jared Leto sent his Suicide Squad co-star Margot Robbie a downright disturbing gift.
Don't talk like that.
Some stars eventually managed to make peace after the fact, while others have vowed never to work together again.
I could probably arrange something like that.
Survival wasn't easy for the characters in Mad Max Fury Road, but let's not forget that behind the scenes, the cast still had the desert and each other to deal with. After filming wrapped up, Zoe Kravitz confirmed that co-stars Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron didn't get along on set, but it took them a couple years to admit it. Theron says looking back, she realizes Hardy was under a lot of pressure to live up to Mel Gibson's role in the franchise, and she also felt the stress of the project weighing on her. Although she now confesses they had a lot in common and should have been on the same team, she claims they put up walls and ended up functioning a lot more like their on-screen characters than they intended. Hardy agrees and admits that he was in over his head in many ways. The entire cast was under immense pressure, and when overwhelmed, sometimes they took out their stress on each other. Considering the fact that the cast spent 9 months in the Namibian desert, it's kinda hard to blame them for being cranky. Poor Riley Coog even came down with a bad case of hypothermia and says by the end of each day her face would be covered in a thick layer of sand. Marvel's first family has an unfortunate history when it comes to the big screen. Despite being a comic book staple, the Fantastic Four movies aren't the best, and the one released in 2015 had some serious behind-the-scenes issues involving director Josh Trank. According to Trank, he had created an absolutely amazing movie, but then the studio stepped in and ruined it. But according to the studio, Trank behaved erratically on set and didn't end up producing anything fit for theaters. Some sources claim Trank spent most of his time isolated in a tent and refused to communicate with the cast and crew. And when he did speak, he allegedly tried to control when the actors blinked and breathed, which made it difficult for them to play their roles.
I don't know what to do! Get us out of here!
Although there are tons of rumors concerning Trank's bad behavior, some sources say Fox didn't make the situation any easier. They rushed the script because they were afraid of losing the rights to the characters and didn't give Trank the resources needed to get the job done. Regardless of what actually happened on set, Fox took over, reshot key scenes, but in the end, couldn't save it from being a box office flop. The MCU is a box office behemoth at this point, so it's easy to forget the less than impressive films in its library, like the time Edward Norton and not Mark Ruffalo was the Incredible Hulk. In that movie, the studio thought it would be even bigger and better than Iron Man. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. Edward Norton was a huge Hulk fan and was looking forward to bringing this larger-than-life character to the big screen in a dark, gritty movie along the lines of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy.
I don't know, have you been understanding everything I'm saying?
He claims Marvel misled him about the project and refused to let him have any input in the film. Norton ended up leaving the franchise and said he was relieved to get away from the obligation of playing the same character over and over again. Plus, leaving the MCU meant he had time to appear in other movies like Moonrise Kingdom, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and Birdman, which would have overlapped with the Avengers. Even though The Incredible Hulk ended up being a forgettable flick, everything ended up working out for Norton and the MCU. When Marvel announced a Blade reboot starring Mahershala Ali, fans of the franchise wondered why Wesley Snipes wasn't going to be reprising his role from the original films. It could have something to do with what went down on the set of Blade Trinity, because according to Patton Oswalt, Snipes wasn't exactly on his best behavior. Wesley Snipes was going crazy and he wouldn't come out of his trailer. Apparently, Snipes got a little bit too into his role and refused to answer to anything other than Blade. He also communicated to the cast via post-it notes and refused to participate for anything other than close-up shots of his face. Oswald revealed that a lot of Ryan Reynolds' dialogue was the result of Snipes refusing to show up on set, and that Snipes once attacked director David Goyer. Although Oswald admits Blade Trinity isn't the best, he says the fact that it was made at all means it ranks up there with Citizen Kane. So what does Wesley Snipes have to say about these accusations?
Spill it!
During an interview with Vice, he denied staying in his trailer for too long, and implied Oswald's lack of acting experience may have caused him to interpret events differently. However, he did admit that the post-it notes may have happened, but insists it was sometimes the only way to communicate on set. Let's just say Russell Crowe really earned that Best Actor award for his work in Gladiator, and all it cost him was a few broken bones and busted tendons. Director Ridley Scott insisted all scenes be packed with as much detail as possible, which made things hectic on set due to the amount of extras alone, let alone the tiger attacks. Oh yeah, there were tigers on set, which had been medicated to make them easier to work with. According to actor Derek Jacobi, there are a few hair-raising moments where the tigers broke free from their shackles, forcing the actors to flee for their lives. filming the fight scenes resulted in a lot of injuries, particularly for Russell Crowe, who apparently narrowly escaped a tiger himself. He also didn't get along with Oliver Reed, who ended up passing away during the film, which altered the fate of his character, Antonios Proximo. Even Crowe is amazed the movie was ever completed, admitting that they started with a mere 21-page script when they usually are about 100 pages.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
The Fast and the Furious franchise is all about the importance of family. Well, that and fast cars, explosions, and intense action scenes, of course. But Dwayne Johnson didn't quite have that family feeling on set when he showed up to portray DSS agent Luke Hobbs. By the time The Fate and the Furious was in production, he and Vin Diesel refused to be on set together entirely. Johnson accused his co-stars of not conducting themselves as professionals and used some more colorful language that we can't share on this channel. Tyrese Gibson accused Johnson of making the whole franchise about him and wasn't exactly shy about expressing his feelings. But after feuding for years, it seems like the fight may finally be over, at least between Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel. Johnson has expressed gratitude for being allowed to take part in the franchise, and Diesel congratulated his former co-star for his marriage to Lauren Hashan and his role in Hobbs & Shaw. Mickey Rourke's role as Whiplash in Iron Man 2 was considered underwhelming at best by most fans. But according to Rourke, it's not his fault and he spent a lot of time and effort getting into character. Rourke desperately didn't want to play a one-dimensional villain. He wanted Ivan Vanko to be a complex character with a good side. He loved the idea of Ivan having a pet bird so much that he bought one with his own money. But instead of being an intriguing addition to Iron Man's rogue gallery, Whiplash was a barely there villain ranking among the most forgettable in the MCU. According to Rourke, he was promised more creative freedom with his character that Marvel simply didn't deliver on.
He said that you were the only person with the means and knowledge to finish what he started.
He claimed director Jon Favreau had backed him behind the scenes, but accused him of failing to stand up to the studio when they wanted to make changes. A lot of footage ended up on the cutting room floor, and Rourke insists Favreau should have made the call to keep it in the movie. If you weren't the biggest fan of Terminator Genisys, don't worry, you're not alone. Actress Emilia Clarke had admitted things got downright chaotic on set, and said working with director Alan Taylor on his project was very different from the set of Game of Thrones. She claims he was eaten up and chewed out, and that nobody in the cast had a good time filming the movie. Instead of being devastated when Terminator Genisys failed at the box office, Emilia was just relieved she wouldn't have to film any sequels. Things were so bad that even the cast of Fantastic Four, which was filming nearby, comforted themselves with the thought that at least they weren't working on Terminator Genisys.
Is that what that was?
It's okay if you need to take a nap or something.
Taylor wasn't happy about the film either, or interference from Paramount. He was furious when the trailers revealed footage he was hoping to save from the premiere, and described working on the film as rough. Although he had nice things to say about the cast, including Arnold Schwarzenegger, he admitted that he and Clarke both felt burned by the process.
That's really disturbing, right?
Even though Suicide Squad failed to perform at the box office, Jared Leto did put a lot of work into getting into character as the Joker. It's just that a lot of his efforts creeped out his co-stars. He sent Margot Robbie a live rat, but after initially finding it disgusting, she ended up keeping him as a pet. According to Viola Davis, the first time she met Leto was when he delivered a pig to the cast, and unlike the rat, it wasn't alive. Will Smith never even had the chance to encounter him on set when they weren't in character, since Leto was apparently really committed to his role. Scott Eastwood said he was too intimidated to approach him on set, and even director David Ayer found his behavior terrifying. According to Will Smith, Leto refused to show up for rehearsals, but his over-the-top antics did set the bar for the cast. The Kill Bill franchise almost destroyed the friendship between Uma Thurman and Quentin Tarantino. Apparently, she was reluctant to perform a certain car-based stunt and felt Tarantino forced her to do so despite her concerns. Unfortunately, the seat wasn't stabilized properly, and Thurman badly injured her neck and knees in the crash. But Thurman doesn't blame Tarantino, who not only apologized profusely but handed over the footage to her. Instead, Thurman blames the producers, who she says tried to cover up the incident with malicious intent.
However, therein lies a dilemma.
Tarantino says he didn't force her to do the stunt, but that she did so because she trusted him and he was wrong about the safety of the situation.
What are you trying to convince me of exactly?
Although Tarantino has been talking about a third installment since back in 2004, he revealed in 2019 that he and Thurman had been discussing making it actually happen within the next few years. Do you think these films would be better if things behind the scenes were a little bit more organized? Or do you think some of these folks should be canceled because of their behind the scenes antics? Let us know what you think in the comments section and then click subscribe for more great videos from us here at Screen Rant. We'll see you next time.